What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Mack, one of the hosts of the Black Hills Podcast, and today I want to tackle a pretty serious question, and that is, did RWby actually fall off after Season 3? Now, if you don't know, RWby is one of the flagship series for Rooster Teeth Productions, a company that's been making content for about 15 years now, and RWby has been around for 10 of those years, I want to say. I think this year actually makes 10, or maybe next year makes 10. Either way, though, the series itself has 9 seasons, and like I said, a lot of people think that the series just completely tanks itself after Season 3, which, just to throw out there, is the season where, or the last season that the creator Monty Ohm was alive to either see or write. I'm not sure actually when he passed away. I think he passed away like in between season 2 and 3, so I don't think he was actually here from when season 3 aired. But either way though, a lot of people think that after season 3 the story just takes a nosedive, and personally I just don't think that's a bit fair. Now, is that me saying yes, it did take a nosedive? No, I think it just took a step down just because of what the seasons following it have to be to create more of a story. And the reason for that is season 3 is a climactic ending to the build-up of seasons 1 and 2 with the fall of Beacon. That's the last time they have been in the Kingdom of Vale in general. The only other character that was still left in Vale after season 3 was Yang, because Yang had to deal with a lot of mental trauma due to what happened to season 3, which was a big part of season 4 and part of season 5, even a part of season 6. So when you have this big climactic ending for one of the major parts of the story arc, what you have to do is go back to building up the other arcs. Now, this is where we go to Mistral, which we spend only 2 seasons in, and then from there we go and leave Mistral to go to Atlas, and that's a whole big challenge all in itself. So I don't really think it's fair to try and compare seasons 4, 5, and 6 to season 3, mainly just because those arcs aren't exactly set up or built up the same as season 3. For example, season 4 is mainly focused on the separation of Team RWby and a lot of characterization for Team Juniper, or the remaining characters. You have to watch Jean deal with the loss of Pyrrha while still also continuing his training. You have to watch Ren and Nora deal with the trauma of when they lost their hometown, Ren when he lost his parents, to one of the scariest Grimm that has still been introduced into the story. Then from there, you also have to think about Weiss and what she's dealing with now that she's at home, and us getting a better visual representation of what she had to deal with while she was growing up. Yang dealing with the trauma of losing her arm and also feeling left and abandoned by Blake. And then Blake having to deal with, well, I told y'all the White Fang was going to come through and mess things up, and look what happened. And why were they there? Because of me, partially. So I just think when you look at that, it's a bit more than just saying, oh yeah, it went downhill. But it's just nothing as monumental or nothing as catastrophic as what happened in season 3. You do have the return of some characters and the introduction of some characters that help out a lot, but it's not exactly the same as like what was already established in season 3 to capitalize on. There's nothing to capitalize on. There's just more stuff to build up on. Season 5, where you have the reunion of RWby, Team RWby, you have the battle at Haven Academy. I feel like that actually could have been spaced out a bit more, just because we actually didn't get to see any of the Haven students. I mean, Neptune is a Haven student. We don't see him. I mean, the school wasn't in session, so that's pretty much why. So when everything happened at Haven Academy, they kind of try to build up off of the characters that we were being shown and introduced to, such as Raven, Cinder and her crew, not Watts, but Team RWby and all that stuff going on there. So it's a bit different from what was happening in season 3. And also, nothing too catastrophic happened in season 5. There was some good plot twists though. For example, Raven actually being the Spring Maiden. I thought that was a fantastic plot twist. I did not see that coming whatsoever. So I think it was really building up on certain aspects of it that were a bit different than how they were handled in season 3. But since there wasn't that much build up or nothing too, like mind-blowing happening, it was just a little bit of a not letdown, but it just didn't reach that pinnacle that season 3 was at. Then you have season 6, which is another build-up season. So you really can't compare that to season 3 either. It's just season 6 was a much better done season 4, especially with the huge plot twist of finding out Osmond and Salem's past, finding out Salem can't be killed, finding out Osmond was really kind of at the end of his rope, trying to figure out a plan to stop Salem. Because, well, I mean, everybody likes to get mad at Osmond, but you're asking a guy to pretty much hold the world's biggest coin flip off of hoping that people are getting along and he can convince the god of light that people are getting along. People can't even agree to like this show, but yet Osmond had to be able to agree to make this person understand that yes, people can work together. So no, I just think it's a bit harsh on Osmond, and also I think it was really good for that to happen in season 6 because of how it carried on into season 7. So when it comes down to that aspect, I think that was done very well. And then you also had the whole thing of getting to Argus, the situation in Argus. I mean, obviously the stuff with Cordovan and all that, jazz, it's not exactly a big like climactic thing, but it was a nice fight. It was a good battle. It was nice to actually get the closure for Blake and Yang with the whole Adam situation. So yeah, season 6 has its high points. It just isn't reaching the pinnacle of what season 3 is. Now, when we get into season 7 and season 8, that's a different story. Season 7 was such a breath of fresh air. Everybody looked happy. Things seemed to be going great. You had the little bit of drama due to Ruby actually hiding the truth from Ironwood, but can you really blame her? They just dealt with a headmaster that betrayed them. Now you're going to have to try and tell this guy who overreacts to a lot of things, this general that is might first, might makes right, and you want to tell him, hey, by the way, your guns really don't matter to this immortal lady. No, that's not a safe bet, especially with everything Ironwood was doing. So, like some people are like, hey, Ruby, you're doing the same thing Osmond did. And she's like, well, maybe Osmond had a point. So, yeah, season 7 really brought in a lot of stuff, and it also brought in a little bit of dysfunction within the teams. So that was nice. And then moving on with season 8, you had everything falling apart, and you also had the fall of Atlas, which, if you ask me, definitely eclipsed everything that happened in season 3. I don't care what nobody says. The stuff with the Winter Maiden, everything that happened to Penny, Team Ruby plus Jean falling. Dude, I'm sorry. You can't tell me season 3 is better than that. The fights, the art, the visuals was just great. A lot of storytelling was great too, especially when you get like Cinder's backstory. You see how Oscar is taken away. You see the treatment of Oscar. You see the connection of Osmond and Salem. Hazel's sacrifice. All this stuff happened in season 8, you know what I mean? So you can't just tell me that it's not better than season 3, where it's mainly just like one more fight from the Vital Festival and then everything going wrong with the Fall of Beacon. Yes, it was very eye-opening because it was the first time we saw a character get killed. It was not the first time we actually heard about a character being killed, but the first time we actually saw it, with Pyrrha and also Penny. But at the same time, though, it's just that, yeah, it happened again later on, and honestly, it happened better in season 8 with a lot of characters. So, I don't know, I just think that people who try to say season 3 is the pinnacle, either you had burnout from Ruby, or you really just haven't been paying attention, or you're just trying to put like unfair standards on things. And I know there are some people who feel like, oh, well, the story only cares about shipping characters now. It's like, no, that's just the fandom having a lot of fantasies and a lot of hopes and dreams for certain things to be introduced into the story, but that's not the case. And obviously for the characters that are romantically involved in each other, that's not a ship, that's a romance. If the two characters are actually in the story and the story sets them up together, that's not shipping. Shipping is a fan thing. When it's actually in the story and it's actually canon to the story, that's called a romance. So yes, so the people who try to hold that against Ruby, that's weird. And for people who always try to want like the most logical things to happen in these stories, you have to understand, people aren't logical. People don't always do the correct thing or make the correct decisions, and sometimes people overreact depending on their personality. So somebody who's like, oh, Ironwood turned into a cartoon villain. No, he pretty much stayed on character and stayed on track for what they were showing. I don't really think it's a bad thing of what he did for his character. In general, yes, it's a horrible thing. It's a morally disturbing thing. For the soldiers that were following him, yes, that's what soldiers do. It's just it's kind of messed up when we think about it. That's just how soldiers act. So yeah, it's this whole thing of like people wanting these realistic, or not even realistic, these logical things to happen when human beings in general are illogical people already. So, this just feels like a lot of people ask so much for the series when, and if they were in those situations, they would not be doing the same things. So I just feel like that's kind of what happens to the series. It's just like people have had either high expectations or just going into the fact of like certain seasons following season 3 didn't immediately stack up to that same quality, so they thought it was bad altogether instead of like looking for the good in the series. They wanted to be critics and critiques and stuff like that, so they felt better just saying nope, it's all bad, instead of saying, well, there's still some good parts too. So let me know what you think in the comment section, whether or not you think it's all bad, whether you think there's some good parts, what parts do you like, what parts do you hate. If you think it's all about shipping, you know what I'm saying? Like, just let's talk about it, because I want to do a lot more RWby content, and I really enjoy doing this video, so I want to keep this going, but I want to keep it going only if you want to keep it going. So, that's it for your boy, Mike Mac. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
This shit is too easy. Tell them I have no rivals. When I walk up in the spot, they know they nothing to me, and they gotta beg for their survival.